guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be going through all the books that I've read in June and July, so I'm going to be doing my bi-monthly wrap up. Let's start with some stats, so let me have a look. I threw my phone all the way across here. Okay, I moved from Storygraph to Fable because I thought everyone was like, Fable has really good stats and everything. I kind of enjoyed how it had like book clubs and stuff. Tell me why you got to pay for the stats. Normally I tell you guys my average rating for the month and the amount of pages that I read this month. Please let me know if you're a Fable user and you don't pay for it, if you can see your monthly stats, but I don't think you can. I can't tell you my stats. I can just tell you I've read 8 books and let's go through them, and hopefully at some point I can get my stats back, whether that is having to re-download Storygraph, but then I don't want to be having 3 book tracking apps. If it's for the video, then I'll have 3 book tracking apps. There's actually 9 books that I'm going to mention in this video because I'm pretty sure when I filmed my April-May wrap up I didn't include this book because I hadn't yet finished it, but I said I was going to definitely finish it in the last day of May and then I'd update you in my next video. I'm pretty sure that's what I said. So that was The Winners by Frederick Buckman, and this is the last book in the Beartown series, the 3rd and final one. How would you even describe the genre? I guess it's a literary fiction and it follows this town, which is a very small town, and it's only known for its hockey. That's like the one thing it has going for it. Everything else, like this town, is completely irrelevant, but hockey puts it on the map. And so people's welfare and their houses and their jobs and their families and their income, everything in this town revolves around hockey, and something goes wrong for the hockey team because one of the players does something extremely bad and then can't play anymore, and so they lose this like massive match. And it basically divides the whole town into people that are angry at the player, people are angry at the victim. It is really sad, and then that's kind of like what the first book centres around, and then the next books we just keep following this town and the neighbouring town, which is also quite a small town, and they're like massive rivals, and the different families and how like they're so affected by all these different things. And it's kind of just a very atmospheric book about this town. It's always cold, it's always gloomy. Think like Stick Season, Noah Khan. Basically a character study. There's not really many other ways to describe it. And I finished the 3rd and final book, which is a pretty big book, and this series is honestly quite tragic. I had proper tears down my face in this one, and if you know me, you know that is very much something that is uncommon for me. Like, I can count on one hand the books that I've cried to. I can probably only count on one hand films that I've cried to. I just find it difficult to cry to media. I used to be a very big crier in real life, like over things that are real, but even that, I'm just not that big of a crier anymore. To make me cry over a book is always 5-star territory, so I did give this book 5 stars. I just love all our characters. You get so connected to them over all the 3 books. You get so connected to the town. I just love the atmosphere, and his writing is so beautiful. Like, he literally basically tells you at the start what's going to happen which sounds really annoying, but you just go off on all these different tangents, but you care so much about the characters that you never get bored. The first book that I actually finished in June was The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. Now this one is from the same author who wrote Dance of Thieves, and if you know me, you know Dance of Thieves. I have bounded versions that my friend did for me because I love the series so much, and she didn't come out with another book for years and years and years, but this is her most recent book. Actually, I think this is the second one. I had not heard anyone speak about this. I had not heard anyone give any reviews on it, any thoughts on it. It doesn't honestly have that many reads on Goodreads. 22,766 ratings, which for the author of Dance of Thieves, which I don't even know how many ratings that has. Okay, Dance of Thieves has 206,944 ratings, so obviously going to be a lot less, but it is quite significantly less. I honestly have not heard anyone speak about it. I don't think it has the best reviews on Goodreads either. A 3.66, which really isn't good. Anything kind of below a 3.8 is a little bit concerning. Even a 3.9 can be a little bit concerning. So a 3.66 really is not the best, and so I went in it with very low expectations but also kind of high expectations because I was like, it's Mary E. Pearson, and I know a lot of people actually don't like Dance of Thieves, but I was really pleasantly surprised. So we follow Bristol Keats, and she has 2 sisters and her sisters lived with their mum and their dad, but their whole life they have been moving around different places, and it kind of seems like her parents are always on the run. One day her mum goes out for a walk, I think, or maybe like leaves home, and she never comes back. And then a couple months down the line, I think it was, her father winds up dead. So they are then orphaned, they are really struggling for money, and one day our main character Bristol Keats gets a letter through the mail, and it basically is from her aunt, who she's never heard of. Her dad was in possession of I think it's a Da Vinci painting. She needs to come to this location to collect it, and she's obviously like really like unsure about this whole thing, but they are really desperate for money, and so she does turn up, and she ends up going to the Feywild with these people. That's a roundabout how she ends up in the Feywild, and in the Feywild she meets Tygon, who is the love interest. I really like Dance of Thieves because it's a really good split between fantasy and romance. It's got a really good developed fantasy plot, but it's also got a really nice developed romance as well. So I'd say that is probably the same in this one, maybe a little bit less developed fantasy plot. I kind of preferred the fantasy plot of Dance of Thieves. But then that one isn't Fae, so they're very different sort of fantasy plots, so it's kind of hard to compare. Like, I kind of knew in the back of my brain that Mary E. Pearson could do no wrong with me, but I genuinely was ready to rate this like maybe a 3 stars. She gave it a 4.5. I really enjoyed it. I do think Dance of Thieves is so much better. I think there was times where maybe the writing got a little bit lazy and things were happening off page, which I'm like, that could have happened on page. And I'm not to say that it needed to be longer. I don't think it needed to be longer, but I feel like some scenes definitely dragged on and could have been cut, and we could have seen some other scenes. Usually in a romantasy, like every single part of the romance is on the page, and I feel like we got referenced back to some parts of the romance that had already happened, and I'm like, why did we not see that? Also, the ending of the book, I'm aware I gave it a 4.5 and I'm saying quite a few things, but these are all like really small nitpicky things. The way it ended wasn't my favourite. I don't like when books end on those sort of scenes. I find it, one, just like, that's not my favourite scenes in books anyway, and like to end a book on that. Then two, like, it just doesn't do anything for me to want to read the next book. I do want to read the next book because I did enjoy this one, but if you were like a bit umming and ahhing, it doesn't leave you on a cliffhanger or anything. Saying all that, I loved the atmosphere of this book. I loved our main characters. I loved romance. Oh, my ice has melted. Okay, next we have The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. So this one is a literary thriller, but it's not like a jump out of your skin thriller. It's a literary thriller, so it's like slow, and you're just kind of uncovering a mystery more than anything else. I really enjoyed it. I was actually really addicted to picking up this book. We follow this very, very posh family, like the type of rich posh family where every single first male of the family that is born is named the same name. That sort of like posh kind of culty family. No offense if that's a tradition in your family. They are a bit of a suspicious family, and I think it was like 10 years ago, 14 years ago, their little boy Bear vanishes and no one knows what happened to him. He just goes out to the woods and gets completely lost, and it's just assumed that he went missing and died. It's like different theories to what happened to him, but it's kind of like a cold case. And then their daughter Barbara, who is a little bit off the tracks, like she's a bit rebellious, they don't really know what to do with her. She ends up starting the summer camp as well 14 years later, and she ends up going missing too. And you're kind of trying to unravel the mystery of what happened to Barbara, whilst also unravelling the mystery of what happened to Bear, whilst also kind of unravelling the mystery of the family because they're very suspicious. You get loads of different perspectives, like the detective, like different people that help in the camp, and different people from the family and stuff like that. So it is really intriguing. You're always switching perspectives, which keeps things very interesting, and I did really enjoy it. You also like jump back and forth in timeline. Really interesting. I really like the way that she wrote, and I'd be very interested to read other books by her. I'm not sure why I didn't give it a 5. I feel like it could have been a 5, but it just didn't give me 5-star feelings. Okay, the next book I read was on holiday, and that is The Names by Florence Knapp. It's like really sticky and stuff from the peach. It's got a bit battered. So we follow this woman, and she has just given birth and she's gone to register her child's name. She has an idea of what she wants to name her child. Her little daughter, who has come with her, also has a name that she wants to give her brother. And then the dad is actually, much like in this book, the dad wants to name his son his first name because that's a tradition in their family. Dad is very abusive towards his wife, and that is a very strong trigger warning for this book, like very strong. It does get quite graphic at some points. In 3 different perspectives, she decides on each of the 3 names. In each perspective, we kind of see what happened when she went home, if she chose that name, and then we follow the little boy's life and how his life pans out with that name. So I ended up giving this book a 4-star. I really enjoyed it, and I was really toying between a 4 and a 4.5. I really couldn't decide. I really did enjoy the writing. I think there are some beautiful quotes in this book. I do think like parts of this book were so graphic that it was a bit like hard to enjoy, you know what I mean? Focus of this book is after she names the child that name, what then happens to her, which then affects the little boy's life, rather than his name actually having anything to do with it. Would have liked it to be a little bit longer because we have 3 different perspectives and it's only like 320 something pages, and the writing's pretty large. And first of all, we have to have the setup for the book, and then we follow 3 different timelines. And so I just didn't think that there was enough of the timeline. I absolutely love the book. I think it is a really amazing concept. I really enjoyed myself. I never got bored. I kind of wish it was a little bit longer and that I kind of went in with the right expectations. So the next book that we have is How to Write a Love Story by Catherine Walsh. This one I also read on holiday. It was a little summer romance to read. We follow Kiara Sheridan, whose father is, think, George R.R. Martin. That is her father. It's a massive fantasy series that her father has written. He's written 9 books and he never got to publish the 10th one because he passed away. And in his will, he says he wants his daughter to finish writing the 10th book. She gets assigned this editor from the US. He comes down to kind of help her because she's obviously struggling with her grief. She's really struggling to write this book that everyone has so many expectations of. So he comes down to help her. They kind of spend the summer together writing this book and they have a romance. So I ended up giving this book a 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. I really enjoy Catherine Walsh's writing. I really find her very funny. It's like a quick, nice, easy summer romance read. I wasn't expecting the world from it, but her other book, her Christmas book, Holiday Romance, is such a good book to me. Like, I love that book, and so I was maybe expecting a little bit more from the chemistry between the 2 characters. Such a short book. We very heavily followed her friend and her friend's sort of romance too. I'm assuming like her friend's getting a book. We followed half of the time her friend. I did really enjoy it. I liked our 2 main characters and I liked their relationship and I liked the concept, but it wasn't anything that special to me. I read Diabound by Sable Sorensen, which is the first book in the Wolves of Ruin series, and this is a romantasy series. I really enjoyed this book. It kind of gave me the same sort of feelings as when I first read Fourth Wing. Not as good in my opinion. A lot of people say it's better. I don't know. I don't think I could ever touch that feeling that I got again. I don't think any book is ever going to give me that feeling again. Basically, we follow, how do I always forget the main character's name? We follow Merrin. That name literally wasn't even on the tip of my tongue. She lives in a very poor part of this kingdom that they're in with her mum and her sister. Her mum is quite mentally ill and her sister is quite young, and she's kind of like supporting the family, trying to make everything run smoothly, but her mum just says a lot of things that doesn't make any sense, like has her good days and her bad days, but she's not really able to take care of 2 kids, and so Merrin has a lot on her hands. There are these people called nabbers who go round and they kidnap children from their beds, and her sister ends up being kidnapped. And to go and find her sister, she wants to go into the army that they have and go to the front lines to try and find her, because that's where the nabbers would be. She inscripts into the army that this place has, but every now and then they do what they call a bonding trial. Get a group of people that have scripted to go and bond a direwolf and then do these trials with the direwolf and see if they can make it through, because then they get like really good army people with direwolves who can go and fight for them. And so she ends up being entered into these trials, and she has to do these instead in order to get to the front lines to save her sister. There is obviously a little broody man in there, but she also has a past love interest that she's with at the start of the book, so it's it's kind of like a love triangle, but it's like, you know, like that man's giving like Xaden. We know who she's going to end up with. I gave this book 5 stars. I just think I wasn't expecting like the most amazing, beautiful, flowery writing. I was expecting fantasy writing, and I was expecting like Fourth Wing kind of vibes, and that is what I got. And I was very much in the mood for that, and I really enjoyed it. And, you know, I did guess quite a few of the twists. I think maybe if it was your first fantasy you wouldn't, but after a while with fantasy you do start guessing the twists. But it was still really fun. They did still get me with a few twists. Next I read Lost Lambs by Madeline Cash. This has been one of my most anticipated reads purely from the cover. I'm not gonna lie, I am a bit of a sucker for covers, and this one is definitely my favourite cover of the year. I don't know, there's something about the pink, the green, the gold, and the cute little lamb. I just love it. It just brings me happiness every time I see it. It's kind of like a book that you can't really describe. I didn't know what was happening half the time. It's kind of, I guess, just a general fiction, and we follow this very dysfunctional family. So the parents have just decided that they're gonna have an open relationship. Mum's very for that, the dad's very much not, and they're in this sort of like argument about that. There is a bit of a trigger warning for thoughts of ending a life, but it's like not a serious book. It makes light of a lot of things, but if that is something that you don't want to read about, that is featured quite a bit, especially at the start of this book. And then they have 3 daughters, and all 3 daughters are very quirky, let's say, in their own way. So we have the oldest daughter, who's called Abigail, and she's just very much like the most beautiful woman in town. Everyone is like, wow, she's so beautiful. But you know, she's very young, and like these old men creep on her. She's very much obsessed with her look. Then we've got Louise, who is the middle sister, and she has a sort of online relationship with this guy who's a little bit, should we say, not normal. The younger sister, called Harper, and she has this like massive conspiracy going on that this massive shipping company in this town are spying on everyone. So we follow a lot of very quirky characters, and we kind of just go through the different perspectives of everyone in this family. We also follow the perspective of like the priest in this town, and a few other perspectives of different people in this town, and the weird goings on. It kind of turns into a bit of a mystery. It's very like genre bending. I don't know what you would call this, but I actually really did enjoy it, and at the end it actually is quite heartwarming. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I kind of had tears in my eyes at the end, and I don't really know why. I was just very entertained the whole time. Like, there was no part of me that was ever bored while reading this book. Did really enjoy it. Would I probably have given it 4 stars if it had a different cover? Maybe. But we won't talk about that. Oh my god, I've been filming for almost 40 minutes. Oh, so there is 9 books I've read this month, so we are doing 10 books in this video. Honestly, my brain... I did park run this morning, and it was my first time doing a 5k story time. It's my first time doing a 5k, and I think it has actually damaged my brain. I don't think I can form words. But this one I read as an audiobook, and that is This Story Might Save Your Life. This one, everyone says, read as an audiobook. It is the best to read as an audiobook. So that's what I did. We basically follow these podcasters, and they have this big podcast called called This Story Might Save Your Life. Yeah, it's called the title of the book. They discuss different situations where you could be in danger and how they would get out of it. And it's a very big podcast, like top ratings podcast. They have a lot of listeners, and the hosts are a male and a female best friends. And one day our male character goes to the female main character's house, and she is gone, and so is her husband, and so is her dog, and they are so confused what is going on. There's like all these like mysterious bits that are going on, and you kind of uncover the mystery along with our male main character Benny. It's a bit genre bending. It's like a thriller, but not like scary. Like, it is scary, but it's not like, you know, jump scary. Literary fiction, mystery, a little bit of romance, like it's everything in there. And the reason why people say you should listen to it as an audiobook is because they do like snippets of the podcast, which has like sound effects and stuff that make it actually sound like you're listening to a podcast. I think that the audiobook narrators also do a really, really good job, and I actually gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed the experience. Would I give it a 5 star if I read it? I don't know. I'll never know. But I did actually really enjoy the story. And then the last book that I've got, which I am going to finish before July, because when I'm filming this it's actually only the 25th of July, but I just have to film it to get it out, and I only have 20 pages left for this book, so if I don't finish it then there is a problem. And that is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. Let me just take a minute to look at the cover. Can someone tell me where the writing has gone from my book? I don't know what's going on, but every time I touch it I look at my fingers and I've got glitter all over my hands, and like part of the name has come off. It's now actually kind of indecipherable. In this book we follow Sybil, who is a diviner, and a diviner is someone who in this cathedral will drown in this like magical river, and she'll dream of kind of like a prophecy of the person's life that she's divining for. She'll be able to tell them whether the omens are good for that person or bad for them, like palm reading, but she's drowning in a river. One day the king comes to get his omens read, and he shows up with his knights, and one of these knights is the love interest, who is Roderick, or Rory. His like actual name is Roderick, which already makes me think of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but then his name's Rory, which makes me think of Rory the racing car. It's like not really great connotations either way, although actually Roderick is a great connotation because I loved Roderick from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So they show up and the king's omens are actually very bad, and so the king leaves, and then Sybil goes back to her fellow diviners. There's 6 of them, and then eventually they all start going missing, and she'll wake up in the night and the next one will be missing, and then the next one will be missing until there's only her. And so she ends up leaving the cathedral where she lives and going with the knight and the king, and they kind of try to unravel the mystery of what's going on. Unless it ends really shockingly, I'm going to predict that I'm giving this 4 stars. I really enjoy our female main character. I actually really like her. I'm really enjoying the romance as well. I think Rachel Gillig writes a really good romance between characters. Like, just has really good quotes for the male main characters, I think. She's not missing any parts of the romance out. All the parts of the romance are in there for you to follow along with. The only thing is, I don't love books where they're like, oh, we need to go defeat this person, then this person, this person, this person, this person, and then we can like defeat the final boss and then we're done. Because I'm just like, the whole time I know what's coming next, so I'm like, okay, I'm reading that we're defeating this person, and then we've got to go defeat this person. And then it gets a little bit repetitive, and I don't really love that kind of story progression. I actually wrote down my thoughts, because this is something that I'm going to do from now on, is write down my thoughts of books as I'm reading them, keep them all in my notes app for my wrap up. It also has quite a slow kind of start. It was quite hard to get into it. I'm now really into it. I'm actually really enjoying it, but it was quite hard to get into. Really enjoyed the gargoyle in this book. He's like a little funny side character, and I do quite like a little funny side character to kind of give a bit of comedic relief to a fantasy. And the only other thing that I've written that is a little bit negative is that they say the word pith a lot, and I'm assuming that means like that's like tutting. I don't know, when I read it just doesn't sound right, and like they say it a lot, like a lot, and it kind of pulls me out the book a little bit. I was also listening to a reading playlist for The Night and the Moth as I was reading it, and the song What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish came on, and I was like, this song is so this book. So if you're reading this book, then I would really recommend putting on that song. I might try give like a song recommendation every now and then for the books that I give you in my wrap-ups, just because I think it's quite a good way to kind of like sum up a book. I love relating a song to books, so I might try give you one now and then. I'm not going to force it, but if I think of one, I'll try to give you one. And those are all the books that I've read over the past 2 months. Let me know if you've read any of them, what you thought. Let me know what you've read over the past few months. Any 5 stars? I think I had 3 5 stars in this video, 3 4.5s. That is really good, to be fair. I've had a pretty good few reading months. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe down below and turn the bell on. You'll be notified every time I upload, which is every single Saturday, and they're always book related videos. If you want to, you can follow my social medias at _libraryofeden on both TikTok and Instagram, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye.